as an ethnic group. They feel like we're cultureless. They feel like they're the ones from the motherland, or even the ones from the Caribbean, because this lady might be Caribbean, because a lot of the Black Brits, they're African and Caribbean. So they're like first and second gen. So I'm not sure. But they just can't believe it. Like, how is it that Black Americans don't govern themselves? You know what I mean? Like, we live side by side with our oppressors. We live side by side with people that have been literally G-siding us, burning down our communities, flooding out our communities, stealing, co-opting, and colonizing, assembling lynch mobs to literally hunt us down in the street like animals. This is literally our lived history and lived experience in this country. And some of us are still experiencing these atrocities to this day. They're still, it's clearly not, as prevalent as it was 60 years ago, 65 years ago, but there's still a few cases where a random Black guy would be found hanging from a tree somewhere. It's fucking disgusting and terrible. But through all of that, we prevail. We prevail. We're like super Negroes out this bitch. We're giants. And we don't govern. We're not in a country. We don't have a predominant landmass that is just ours, or at least that's not recognized or acknowledged on a global scale. You know what I mean? So they feel like they need to cling on to that out of Africa theory. They need to cling on that we come from them. They need to cling on to the fact that we don't have culture, because it makes them feel better about themselves. Because how is it that we've accomplished so much when we're like not even the majority here? We're not the majority, and we fought through so much. Our ancestors, our forefathers, even the average Black American in 2025 has still experienced many adversities when it comes to systemic racism, redlining, not being approved for certain loans, being discriminated against, facing different types of prejudices and stereotypes and racism. I know I have, and I'm a millennial. And I've experienced those things. I've experienced workplace discrimination. I've experienced a lot at the hands of not just white people, but Latinos, Indian people, Asian people. And we thrive. They don't. They flee. They run. The ones that are loud and proud and that have the mics are predominantly the ones that ran away from their homeland. They didn't stay. They didn't fight. They're not doing anything to better the quality of life for their people and their lineage. They ran away. So what else do they have but to cling on to us, to tether to us, and to make it seem like they're the Super Saiyan and we're just like a little peon, a little generic version of them. You know what I mean? And instead of congratulating us and looking up to us, which a lot of them do, but they don't admit that as much openly as they will get up and talk about how they're better and compare themselves to us. And a lot of the fuckery that goes on, it's an ego thing as well. And they have a superiority complex. And they feel like we do. When we don't. A lot of us do not be up here. We don't even think about these people. We just started entering the chat. And they can't take it. It really upsets them that we're like, hold up, you're not about to keep dragging me and talking crazy. No, we gonna match energy. They don't like it. So for years, it's been Black Americans this, Black American that, Black Americans ain't this, Black Americans ain't that. This lady that I showed y'all, I seen them, her and her little friends. I seen them on a podcast like 2 years ago, before I ever started saying anything about the shit they talked about. And they was talking big money, cash money shit about Black Americans. And I'm like, damn, like when we started our podcast, we probably was talking about each other. Men was talking about women was talking about men. We was talking about racism. We was not harping on immigrants, migrants, or whatever the fuck other Black people, deeply melanated people was doing around the globe. We didn't do that. Whenever they loaded up their mics, we were always the main topic of discussion. Because they feel like we're their direct competitors. And you're not competing with nobody if you don't feel like they at the top. They know what it is, but it hurts them. It really kills them inside to admit that we at the top when it comes to deeply melanated people. It just is what it is. Girl, I could talk about this forever. Well, I don't know if you're a guy or a girl. But spread love is the Brooklyn Wayne.
Who went the F off. And this is what I have to say about both videos. I think that this level of foolish division is really what has kept us globally conquered for centuries across the board. And I'm not here for any of it. As an Afro-American woman who has traveled, I currently live in Europe. I have the absolute pleasure to meet so many beautiful women from all over the African diaspora, including Black British women and continental African women from all over the continent of Africa. So for me, I just cannot participate in this level of foolery. I think it's ignorant on both sides. And here is what I really see that's quite ignorant. I'll start with our side first. On the Afro-American side, I see that because we don't travel, a lot of us do feel that we own Blackness and that everyone in the African diaspora is supposed to feel like us and think like us about certain issues. And that is just not the case. Afro-American people, we do not own Blackness. I've said this before. And we need to understand that other people in the African diaspora have their own unique cultures, their own unique history, and their own points of view on various topics. However, on the other side of the pond, I noticed that Black British people and African continental Africans do not understand that Afro-Americans, we have our own culture, which I feel like you all try to diminish because you don't really understand the history. Afro-Americans, we have our own food. We have our own music. We have our own dances. We have our own traditions. We have our own poetry. We have our own literature. We have our own Renaissance period within the United States of America. And that is something that we celebrate and that we love. And so for you to diminish that by saying we don't have a culture because you don't know it or you just haven't picked up a history book or gone on YouTube to see about our history is also very, very wrong. I think especially for the women, it is time for us to put our egos aside, step into our feminine, and create bridges. Start asking deeper questions to spark conversations so that we can learn about each other rather than keeping up this foolery to tear each other down in front of the others, mind you, on this here internet. So what do I think about it? I think it's ignorant. I think it's dumb. I think it needs to be stopped. And I think that we need to learn about each other because it's clear that on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, ignorance is going on about one another. And with what's coming on this planet, we don't need that. And that's all I have to say about it.
British girls and the Black American girls are fighting. And perspective from obviously me being a Black American woman. Also, I grew up on the outsides of Chicago. I've lived in Miami. I live in New York City, and I'm well traveled. So those are my credentials to say that I've lived in different places for extended amounts of time, and I've met a lot of different people more often than not. Black Americans, we are not groomed to feel a way about other Black people, meaning if you're Black and you come from Africa, or you're Black, you come from wherever, we are not groomed to feel a way toward anybody else. If anything, we are groomed that a Black person, we blackity black, like we down, like you down, we down, okay? However, people from other countries seem to already have a preconceived prejudice against Black Americans. Oh, we lazy, we da-da-da-da, we ghetto, da-da-da, all these things. A lot of things that one might think, hey, this sounds a lot like what Western media would portray a Black person to be. So there you have that. I feel like this is where the tension starts to come because certain comments and things that then like toward Black Americans that then trigger a response. And then this is how we get into these back and forth. As a Black American, you're not really groomed to feel a way about other Black people, except more so acceptance. And therefore, y'all not really on our minds like that. Like in a situation that's happening in the fights, like, again, no shade, no tea, but Black British girls are not like, that's not what we worried about. Anything like when I'm gonna think about a Black British girl, I like, first of all, makeup be eaten down, okay? So you dressing cute. And obviously y'all have like a really nice accent. But other than that, there's appreciation, there's love. But there usually isn't like I can't, what? I don't think that Black Americans feel that we're the cream of the crop of Black people. I mean, let's call a spade and let's be 100 about it. Like, the culture that Black Americans have built in this country is often replicated, duplicated, gentrified, repackaged, repurposed, all the things. Possibly part of that is Western media, but a lot of the things that we have created over the times within this country then get spread worldwide. The looks or the music that has such an impact on everybody. We believe that we're the cream of the crop, but I do think that we know that we have, contributed to some things in this world. Seems that every time, every which way we turn, like getting bust upside the head by somebody, we get it enough from the white people in every other race, but then it's like now more black people feel away. And honestly, it's not just Black British girls that are saying things or whatever. This is like Black people from the Caribbean, West India, and Black people from Africa. Like, everybody got something to say about a Black American. As a Black American, like, we just trying to vibe. Can we just all get along?
Question is, where are you from? If you ask somebody in the US where they're from, like, like, where are you from? Where are your roots from? Most of the time, they're going to tell you something like, I'm from Washington, D.C., I'm from New York, but, I have grandparents who were born in Florida, and so on and so forth.
And the only logical answer to that question would be from the United States, because that's literally where we're from. Like, I'm really confused as to what other answer would you be looking for from a Black American?
Whereas, if you ask somebody in Europe, I say Europe, I'm actually in France, but if you ask, it's the same really all across Europe. If you ask somebody in Europe, a Black person where they're from in Europe, they will almost never tell you that they're from, X city. They're not going to, like, for example, in France, they're not going to be like, yeah, I'm from Paris, or I'm from Marseille, or I'm from Lyon, or whatever. They're going to tell you I'm from Congo, I'm from Cameroon.
And you know why they're going to tell you that? Because there's something called immigrants in those European countries. So those people who, if you ask them where they're from, they're going to say Congo or Cameroon or some other African nation. They're saying that because they're immigrants, first, second, third, whatever generation, which is not the same as being a Black American. So let's get this straight.
Like, to say bluntly, I don't think that most African Americans realistically know where they are from. And that's not...
Why do so many immigrants think this? Like, we know exactly where we came from. Like, we come from the United States, but why do so many immigrants, especially from the African continent, why do so many of y'all think that the only valid identity is identities that come from the continent of Africa when it pertains to Black people? So if you got brown skin, the only identity that's valid is the African identity, which is the reason why you keep telling us that we don't know who we are, we don't know where we came from, because we don't associate ourselves with no specific country over in Africa. So somehow our identity as Americans just is not valid. It just couldn't be valid. But somehow, though, y'all don't do that to the South Americans, even though our history is very much similar. It's cool to be Brazilian and Colombian and Dominicana and Puerto Rican, but it's not okay to be Black American.
Like, there's a search for identity in the US, like, in terms of African American. Now, you take that and then you look at Black people in Europe generally, not all. The history is a little bit different there because, again, you're the first person born outside of your nation. You know where you're from. Like, you know where your roots are from. Like, your identity is not necessarily a mystery to you because your parents, like, it's very, very clear where.
Why would I be searching for an identity? Why would I be searching for an alternative identity? Why would I feel like I don't know who I am, or like my identity as a human being or as a Black woman was just some sort of a mystery? Why would I feel like that? When if I live with myself every single day, when I wake up in the morning, I look at myself every single day, and I have never once questioned who I am or what I am. I have never wondered. I have never asked the question, who am I? I don't know who I am. I don't know where I came from. I'm just lost. I just got dropped from the heavens. I got dropped from the space of Mars. I don't know who the fuck I am. No, that's not how it works. Your identity is shaped based off of where you are, where you are born, who you have proximity to, the culture that you came up in.
Africa is not the only valid identity for Black people. And that's the thing that y'all need to get through y'all thick ass skulls. Africa is not the only valid identity. People who live outside of it have an identity of their own. And we don't need yours. We don't need you to tell us who we are. We're not looking for sympathy. We're not looking for nothing from you guys. Okay? We just are who we are. You are who you are. Let's respect that. But let's not get it twisted and make it seem like we just are looking to reconnect with some random African nation, and like we just don't know who the fuck we are. And that's not happening. So miss us with this shit, please.
The white people who had been from all over, right? Macaroni and cheese is a French cuisine that a slave found while his master had him in France. He brought back with him to the Americas. Black Americans had been slaves or helps in the hands of all types of different immigrants in America. So the food that we created is an amalgamation of those ideas and dishes. African food and Caribbean food is not like that at all. Black British people have an identity issue. I can see it clear as day, right? You guys have a disconnect from your identities as Caribbeans and as Africans because the vast majority of you are third, second generation homeland British blacks, right? You've never been to Africa. You've never been to the Caribbean, or you've only been there once a year on a vacation. And so in vast, your connection from those cultures is clipped, right? Because you really only know England, right? You really don't know that much about your cultures and your identity. What you do know about it isn't enough for you to feel connected. So in a way, you guys think that y'all are us, right? Because we don't have any real connection to the motherland or the islands or anything of that nature. But our identities are very much so linked to this land. Our ancestors' blood, sweat, and tears was put into the foundation and building of this country. Y'all cannot say the same. So no, you cannot keep comparing yourselves to us. I'm gonna keep telling y'all need to do something with fucking Britain. Go over there and build some shit and make a fucking home in a community and stop trying to look to us for a sense of identity because you are not us. You can never be us. You can never move like us. You can never have it like this, unfortunately. Like, go create something uniquely Black British or whatever the fuck that means. Combine your Caribbean African identities into one melting pot and see what it creates, bro. Because that's basically what happened here, right? That's what happened here. Figure it out. Just figure it out. But please stop mentioning us. It's getting so fucking old.
I don't think we're taking over. I don't believe in that narrative. I think there's bigger people at play trying to put us against each other. But I think we're not taking over, but we're coming here and we're seeing that there's opportunity that matches our talent. I think in the UK sometimes it can feel like we don't get nurtured, you know, and I feel in the US they see someone like Daniel Kaluuya do so well and be mad talented. And Damson. It's a no-brainer. But there's so many of that level of talent in the UK.
I was just gonna say, because I think something that was interesting that you said, because I heard Denzel Washington say this. He was like, he was talking to a young actor and giving advice, and he says, "Hey, if you want to act."
Yep.
He says, "Get to a theater." He says, "If you want to be like me, do what I did."
That's right.
And start in the theater.
Right.
And I think that presence, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there's probably a greater presence in the UK with the theater than it is
the training.
it is here, where I think people, and I know at least in California, they may go to acting classes and then try to make the jump from acting class straight into. And there's a difference. Same thing with basketball. With the European basketball, like there's this massive jump in the NBA because of the skill sets are just a little different. So maybe there's something to that.
I think there is. Like, even I just named Daniel Kaluuya. I saw him do a play called Sucker Punch. He was so young. It was probably one of the best performances I've ever seen on stage. I can go through them. I'm talking about seeing people like Adrian Lester. We've got so many talented people that you see the work on stage, and I feel like sometimes there's the glass ceiling, where you don't see people sort of transcend. But over here, I can name many of my peers and friends and all their like best work or their biggest moments that like I feel I wanted to be here. I wanted to be in a place where I felt like I could have the career that my talent deserves. And I'm not being like big-headed. I just could feel that. And I feel like when I look at my friends and peers, they're all out here.
Killing it.
Reggae June Page, you know? Bridgerton, you know? Like,
Oh,
man.
yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Reggae wouldn't be doing that if there wasn't Netflix. And Netflix is an American. Those are British arm, but it's an American thing.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just like, okay. Then you got the two black ladies in it, you know? Adjoa, she's a friend of mine, and Golda. They've been working for years in the UK. But this role is huge, changed their lives.
Massive.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, we've got to work together. Let's stop going up against each
No,
other.
I
I
love
don't
that.
engage with this conversation about us versus
neither.
them. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm about, when I look at someone like Jay Samuels, you know, yes, he's Nigerian, but what he does with his films, he will have someone like Omar Sy in it. He would have a Ghanaian actor in it, American actor in it, Nigerian actor in it, Jamaican actor.